Stop with the questions. Celebrate.
And then they say, is Donald Trump an intellectual? Trust me, I'm like a smart person. Yosemite's one of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water.
Mike Lindell's a conspiracy.
Well, you haven't. Person, woman, man, camera, TV. They said nobody gets it in order. It's actually not that easy, but for me it was easy.
Amazing.
He can't sit down. He's got a burning in his butthole. He's got a fire. He's got a flame coming out of his butthole.
Big, massive dumps.
Oh, I have a term for that. I call it corporate communism.
Somebody sent me a thing this morning where they're talking about putting the vaccine into salad dressing.
You see, this is a simple meme that you would find on the internet, but this meme is very real.
You ain't seen nothing yet until you see the flaming butthole.
Putting us on our knees to China.
Now witness
Amazing.
the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
Woke mob.
Around the nation. Waldorf Nation. Welcome to the show. It's Monday. It's the start of a new week. And of course, we have the same ghouls that we're going to talk about. Yes, that means we're going to CPAC. We've got some CPAC stuff, which is both hilarious and frightening. So we're going to go to that. Then, we have, and look, this conversation on CPAC here, it's gonna take a while. Because we have massive amounts of anti-trans stuff going on at that conference, and it's horrifying. So we have that. We are also going to go into Christie versus Trump. Oh, interesting drama. And then we have a little bit of karma for a video that I actually missed out on over a racist woman at a pizza shop. So we have a fun update on that. For those of you who are familiar with the story, those of you who are not, I do have the video, so we're going to go over that. And we'll get to the positive resolution. Ooh. So a little bit of positivity along with the show. So with that, please like and share the stream. Very important that you do so. And why don't we dive into the wokeness? Yes, we have the wokeness.
The wokers.
Okay. All right.
Lego is going woke. So announced they're going woke too. A woke mob.
Wokers.
Wokeness. Wokeness. The woke culture.
Wokeness.
That seems like the term woke or wokeness is getting thrown around a lot by the right wing. It's been being thrown down around a lot for a long time now, at least the last couple of years. But the question keeps coming up: do they actually know what it means? What's woke? I mean, what is woke? Do you have any examples of wokeness or woke people or woke policies? Well, people decided to ask attendees at CPAC. In fact, it was Business Insider that asked these right-wing attendees who love, again, throwing around the word woke. And, well, they came up with not just one answer, but several different answers, many of which were pretty incoherent. So let's get into that. But first, to answer the question, what is woke? Well, basically, it is signifying a general awareness that there are systems in this country of injustice, or that perpetuate injustice against certain groups of people. That's pretty simple. When you put it in examples, well, criminal justice system, everybody points to that. That's the best example of it because it tends to target Black Americans far more often than their white peers. So you end up, for example, white people who commit the same crime as Black people. Well, it turns out Black people end up getting a harsher sentence or more often sent to prison for that same crime. Interesting. So again, that's an example there. But it's not just the criminal justice system. It's also happened in finance. You had redlining, where of course banks would refuse to give credit to Black Americans for them to buy houses in places that are majority white areas. That's an illegal practice. And it had to get cracked down on. And then, of course, you have education, where you have inner city schools that continue to suffer from a lack of funding. And look, by the way, our entire education system right now suffers from a lack of funding, mainly because the conservatives, Republicans in a lot of these red states specifically, have defunded their public schools. Now, if you think it's bad for, average, let's say, white students, well, it's even worse for Black students because their schools often are literally falling apart. And look, it's also infrastructure that's affected. Majority Black areas often suffer more from contaminated water, pollution. There are things, for example, more industry that's located in their areas that tend to pollute more trains that go through minority areas. Since we've been having this issue with, train derailments. In fact, there was another one that recently happened over the weekend in Ohio. Yes, another Ohio train derailment from the same company, by the way, Norfolk Southern. And of course, something that has also been noted, there's a lack of trees in majority African American areas. So, yeah. Now, look, if you're aware of those things, guess what? That makes you woke or awake. So basically, being woke just means that you know facts. Wow. So when you say you're against wokeness, what you're really saying is, well, you don't like facts. You're against facts. You're against reality. Now, conservatives, of course, they don't like that definition. So they made up their own. Well, they try to make up their own. In fact, they asked Johnny McKenty, the CEO of a right-wing dating app, whose ads declare that the other dating apps, they've gone woke.
The wokers.
Oh my God. The dating apps, they've gone woke. You actually have to put in pronouns, and use pronouns, and it's terrible. Okay. Now, he told Insider, when he was asked, quote, "That's tough. Let me think on it. Give me like 2 minutes to come up with something good." Wait, if you're explicitly marketing your product as being against wokeness, don't you think you ought to know what wokeness is? Why do you have to sit there and be, that's a good question. Nobody ever asked me that. I guess I'm just going to have to go back and think about it for a minute. Really? Okay. Now, he did eventually settle on calling it political correctness and said, quote, we shouldn't be banning words. Wait, banning words? What words are being banned by
the wokers?
Who's the woke people banning words? Of course, he couldn't answer that question. And then cited the fact that, oh, look, man, don't ask me these questions. Okay? I'm only here to hawk my dating app so I can make money. Funny enough, there are people out there trying to ban words. It just happens to be the right wing in many states banning pronouns, which happen to be words. Ironic. Maybe, as some of you point out, you know the word that they really want to say, the word that they're mad that people don't like. It happens to be the N-word. We really just want to say the N-word, and that's why we hate wokeism, because people get mad when we say that and be outwardly racist. 58-year-old Daniel Francis was then asked by Insider for his opinion. What's the wokeism? Here's what he said. Quote, they're trying to wake up what shouldn't be woken up. They're stirring the pot in the wrong direction. I didn't realize that you could stir something in the wrong direction. Okay. For Francis, he says that the word woke invokes the idea of a system of education that stokes division between groups. Quote, I think the woke side is kind of keeping the border open. I mean, that's what they want. Okay, number one, the border is not open. And what the left wants is a functional and fair system of immigration. I mean, one of the major policy positions the left is pushing is to push more, or is to get more immigration judges down to the border to handle the massive backlog of immigration and asylum cases. That's one of the big problems with our immigration system, is because it is old, it is clunky, it is outdated, antiquated, and extremely slow. And it hasn't been fixed. And there is a reason that it hasn't been fixed, because there are people out there that don't want to fix it, because they don't want people to immigrate here if they're a certain color. Nigel Farage was also asked about this, and he said that wokeness meant a level of political correctness that is totally extraordinary. Funny how he says that. Political correctness. Why don't we ask him what he's trying to do, what Ron DeSantis is trying to do in Florida, with him trying to get political bloggers who write negative articles, opinion pieces about Ron DeSantis or members of his administration to get them to register with the state. That seems to be extraordinary levels of political correctness, because essentially it would freeze out and chill people's speech, their opinion, to try to shut down these bloggers. By the way, that bill is so extreme, even Newt frickin' Gingrich is like, oh man, you better pull that one back. That's insane. When you got Newt Gingrich calling you out and saying that's extreme, you know you're extreme. Jesus Christ. Now, Farage added, if we don't agree with someone, we try and ban them or cancel them. Okay, look, if we're talking about tax policy, then no, that's not the case. I disagree with a lot of people on tax policy. I may even disagree with some people on the left with tax policy, although I can't come up with an idea on why or what that would be. I don't see actual policy issues where we're going to cancel somebody or ban them. Now, there's one thing, though, that I do see is if we're talking about classifying people as human beings with inalienable rights that deserve to live with respect and dignity, if you're against that, for example, if you're against equal justice for black people, for black Americans, or the existence of transgender people, then yes, I will cancel your ass. Because what you're trying to do is to cancel transgender people from existence. Then yes. There's more. James Winship, 68, a Virginia man dressed up as George Washington. Lovely. And holding a flag, he said that he carried in the mall on January 6th, told Insider that woke was substituted for political correctness because the term sounded too much like political corruptness, which again makes that literally no sense. What does that even refer to? Joe Pinion, Newsmax host, who was a GOP nominee for Senate in New York in 2022, defined what he called the gospel of woke as the notion that all things in America are bad. Again, you're just literally making things up. But are there things in America that could be a lot better? Oh, yeah. Yeah, for example, healthcare, housing, wages, paid leave, labor rights, childcare. You can go on. Education. All these things. Not great. And by the way, there's big agreement across the board, across all the political spectrum, that, these things we could definitely do a lot better. We could do a lot better on healthcare. Could do a lot better on, housing. Could do a lot better on the economy. Because they are currently bad. And by the way, the reason that they're bad is not because of wokeness. No, it's because right now we have a government, and it doesn't matter which party seems to be in charge. They all generally tend to work for corporations that want to prevent us from having better things, so that those corporations, the wealthy donors, can take more of our money, our tax money, for themselves and stuff it in their pockets. Jackson Stallings, 21-year-old student attending the conference, here's what he said wokeness was. So it is a combination of, quote, this transgenderism thing, leftism, and critical race theory. I think it's all directly connected, he said. That's certainly a lot of buzzwords. Okay. Do you even know what you're talking about? Doesn't sound like it. Then there's Susan Vanderberg, 65, a CPAC volunteer, saying, well, I don't have a problem with anybody being gay or anything like that. Saying that she has a gay nephew. So I got no problem with the gay because I got the gay in my family. So and I love him. But then she went on to name Pride Month, transgender athletes competing in sports, drag queens, and sex ed in schools as examples of wokeness run amok. Quote, I'm not against anybody having those feelings, and it's more accepted now than ever before, but they're taking it to an extreme. Like, what does she mean? What do you mean? What do you mean extreme? What's extreme? No, I know what she means. Let me be the interpreter here. The chud interpreter, okay? No, she means extreme by having it out in the open. Having it in media and popular culture. Having these people openly exist as they are. And not being hidden away somewhere. Look, if you're upset that these groups are actually visible in the mainstream and that you can actually see them when you go outside or turn on your television, well, I got news for you. You do have a problem with them. If you want them out of sight and out of mind so that you don't have to be reminded that they exist, you have a problem with them. When their existence bothers you to such an extreme that you have to be like, wokeness. Well, then, yeah, that would mean that you are bigoted. And sure, that kind of bigotry doesn't seem as bad as actively seeking them out to harm them, at least at first glance. At the end of the day, though, it ends up in the same result. For them to functionally be erased from society, because that's what they want. Yeah, you might be like, oh no, I don't want them dead or anything like that. No. But you want them gone. And by the way, that gives them cover. It gives cover to the people who would do those things, who would eliminate them in any way possible. Finally, Robin Erickson and Mary Phelps, another group of 68-year-old volunteers, this is with the Walkaway movement, said this: everything's got to be hyphen this and hyphen that. Said Phelps, arguing that America should be a melting pot and that people are hyper-focused on certain facets and using them to start conflict. Do you know who's doing that? Right wing's doing that. Remember, it's ironically their side that is fighting inclusion and to keep us separate and unequal instead of equal and united. Because if we were actually united, well, we would be fighting against corporations and the wealthy donors who are screwing us and robbing us. And look, the reason that these culture warriors are doing this is because, again, there's a market for it. And most importantly, the aforementioned reason, if we're fighting each other, it's easier for the donors and the corporations to pick our pockets. They wouldn't be able to divide us so well if they didn't have that propaganda that scares people into thinking that black people, and this is an older common trope, that the black men, they're gonna come rape our white women. See, the Mexicans are coming for your jobs, coming to take your jobs. And the trans people, they're coming for your children. They're going to come for your children. By the way, that is a common thing that we saw here on CPAC, is that they were equating, once again, transgender people to pedophiles. Now, the irony here about this whole thing is it's just super thick. Not only do these people not understand what wokeness actually means, but again, if they did understand the realities of, again, reality, then yes, they would too become aware and therefore woke. Now, that's the fear of all the well-paid culture warriors who push this anti-wokeness on everybody, because ultimately what they want, what their goal is to have people remain asleep and fighting each other. Speaking of culture warriors, let's go to the next one. Okay. A Daily Wire host named Michael Knowles recently at CPAC called for the eradication of transgenderism in a speech that alarmed, well, pretty much everyone paying attention. Here's part of that speech.
There can be no middle way in dealing with transgenderism. If transgenderism is true, if men really can become women, then it's true for everybody of all ages. If transgenderism is false, then it's false for everybody too. And if it's false, then we should not indulge it, especially since that indulgence requires taking away the rights and customs of so many people. If it is false, then for the good of society, and especially for the good of the poor people who have fallen prey to this confusion, transgenderism must be eradicated from public life entirely. The whole preposterous ideology at every level.
So, look, that speech horrified people, and again, with good reason, right? Basically, he said transgenderism, and by extension, transgender people, should not exist. Shouldn't have a right to exist. Again, horrifying. Even taken most charitably, right, as a claim of, oh, no, I just want to get rid of the ideology of transgenderism. That's it. Well, okay, Michael, what would that look like? How would that be enforced? Basically, you're going to dedicate resources, government resources, taxpayer funding, to hunting down trans people. Is that what's going to do? You're going to throw them in prison? You're going to send them to re-education camps? You're going to have cops out there doing genital inspections, checking to see if that person in a dress, who might be maybe a little bit taller, more broad-shouldered, has a penis? Well, we know that a lot of the people who claim that, we can tell we can always tell, always seem to misgender women as being trans people, which they are not. So that's what it's going to look like, right? The big government coming in and basically coming in with the power of the state and telling you what to call yourself, how to dress, how to live your life, and then punishing you if you don't, do the things that they want you to do. Again, how do you enforce that? What do you do? How much do you want to grow government in order to, live out this fantasy where you eliminate a section of the American population? Again, that sounds like tyranny to me. And again, that's the most charitable version. Because again, what do you think happens when you ultimately criminalize a way of life? The non-charitable version means just what you would think it means. The elimination, wiping out the estimated 1.6 million transgender Americans living across the country. This is not a problem. There's not a real problem with, transgender people, they're transing children. No, what they're doing is they're treating this as a problem. And then coming up with a solution which looks a lot like a final solution. No joke. So now, of course, when the remarks were shown in context, what people just took the videos and they said, well, this definitely seems like you're coming for transgenocide here. Knowles and his PR people from the Daily Wire, they went on a warpath. They tried to censor people from reporting on what he's saying. Now, remember, this guy calling for the elimination of transgenderism from society and the criminalization of 1.6 million Americans using the power of big government. And then when people call that out, he's not saying, libelous, we're coming after you. So you're against free speech then? Is that what it is? You're trying to censor the media. What does that make you, Michael Knowles? It makes you a fascist. That's what it makes you. He demanded retractions from the Daily Beast, HuffPost, and Rolling Stones. And guess what? Daily Beast and Rolling Stone and HuffPost backed down. Daily Beast changed its headline to replace transgender community with transgenderism. Rolling Stone's headline went through at least two different changes as well. HuffPost changed its headline for clarity purposes. Right. Look, changing it from transgender to transgender community, or transgenderism, to transgender community, doesn't make his statements any less horrifying in their context and implications. That's what I have to get clear. I have to communicate this clearly to all of you who are watching and listening to this. This is a targeted assault against an entire marginalized community. And this isn't the only one. CPAC overall this year, their number one target was the trans community. Some examples. Sebastian Gorka claimed that Democrats are mutilizing boys and girls. Again, that's despite the facts, the evidence, bottom surgery is not done on minors. Now, are there cases when an intersex child is born where the parent is forced to choose which sex that child will be assigned, which genitals they'll have? Yeah. And by the way, in that case, the intersex community has spoken out against gender normalizing surgeries. That is not the same, by the way, as gender affirming care. But those are the rare cases that there is a bottom surgery, but again, not related to being a transgender American. Again, it's the intersex community. And some in the intersex community are saying, wait, you should wait so that we have a choice. But anyway, there's more. Representative Marjorie Greene touted her bill that would ban gender-affirming care, which again, at this point, it is puberty blockers and hormones. However, those things are not given until puberty. You're not having 5-year-olds that are getting shot up with hormones. It's just not the reality. Gender-affirming care is simply things like, again, getting counseling, using preferred pronouns, growing out, or sometimes cutting your hair, changing the way you dress, changing your name, all that stuff. But what these people are doing is invoking children and using them as an excuse, ultimately, to go after adults. They start with the ban on gender-affirming care for minors. Say, oh, we got to protect the children, right? And then what do they do afterwards? Well, they introduce bills to ban it for adults. Already, Florida, Oklahoma, and Texas have introduced bills that would ban gender-affirming care and surgeries for adults, legal adults, who decided they want to, go and get those affirming surgeries. Legal adults. Understand that this has always been aimed at banning the mere existence of transgender people. That is it. That is the goal. And he said, we're going to eliminate it completely. It was never about the children. They used these children as shields. That's what they're doing. And they've done it before when it comes to the gay community. They always use the children as a shield to then go after adults. Now, one CPAC attendee named Tim Roberts, 57, basically admitted that the mere acknowledgement of transgender people existing, being mentioned in a classroom, is the same as indoctrination to the trans agenda. So basically, the existence of something in their minds is indoctrination. Well, that would mean, given that loose interpretation, everything that's ever been taught is indoctrination. Pretty wide. Okay, so if it's all indoctrination, would that also include religion? Yes. Religion, by the way, religion is indoctrination. No, at the end of the day, these people want transgender people gone, eliminated from society. James Clark, 37, a political public relations consultant from Kansas City, claimed that gender-affirming care leads to, get this, human trafficking, sex trafficking, pedophilia, and different things like that. That's his quote. When asked by HuffPost what gender-affirming care had anything to do with pedophilia, he said, quote, it has a lot to do with it. If you have an adult grooming a child to become trans, which isn't happening, HuffPost then interjected and asked, okay, is there any evidence that children are being groomed? His response, quote, well, I'm just speculating, before insisting that there's probably a lot of science that can back up his argument. But you just didn't know any of that offhand. Oh, saying, quote, I'm not a psychologist. Well, no kidding. I mean, I think it's very obvious that you're not a psychologist, because all the major medical associations have said that gender-affirming care saves trans children's lives. And that would include, by the way, the American Psychological Association. So, look, no, you're not a psychologist. You're not any sort of expert on anything, and neither is anyone at CPAC. No, the people at CPAC, the speakers there, like Michael Knowles, are ghouls. They're spouting Nazi-like rhetoric and calling for the elimination of a marginalized group of 1.6 million American citizens. And they are doing so only for personal and political gain. I cannot think of anything more disgusting and self-serving than these attacks against the transgender people by fascists and bigots like Michael Knowles. Okay. Jesus. Let's move on. Let's try to have a little bit of fun here and get away from this horribleness that is CPAC. For that, we go to Christie. Former New Jersey Governor Christie recently crawled out of his hole to take a shot at former President Donald Trump, which is definitely going to lead to some drama.
You saw the scenes at CPAC. That room was half full.
Yeah.
Okay? Let's not pretend that CPAC is CPAC anymore. It's TPAC. Okay? It's Trump PAC. It's not CPAC any longer. And only the most desperate people showed up at CPAC to even speak other than Trump. Or people within Trump's orbit. The fact of what's going on here is the reason I think the rallies are not going on, Maggie, is not just because of the money, although I think that's a factor. I don't think the rallies would be nearly as big as they were before.
That is absolutely true. It was true last year. That's true.
What got him upset on January 6th?
The crowd size.
The crowd size. What got him upset on January 20th, 2017? The crowd size. He measures that as an example of his own power and his own authority, and I don't think he has it anymore.
Shots fired. Shots fired. And I love it. Now, look, is it a well-known that this is a sore spot for Donald Trump, talking about his crowd sizes not being all that large and, among other things, possibly not being all that large?
Tallywhacker.
No, I didn't say that. What are you talking about?
Sexual anarchy.
Okay, anyway, but we know that Donald Trump loves bragging about his crowd sizes, as well as spreading the most obvious lies about them being the biggest crowds ever seen, tremendous crowds, the greatest crowds, the greatest crowds. But of course, that's not true. Yeah, sometimes he's had some pretty big crowd sizes at some of his rallies, his earlier rallies especially. But remember, the first couple of rallies he had, when he was at first considered a joke candidate, nobody showed up to. He had to pay people to show up. And then, of course, at his inauguration, small crowd size. Compared to Obama. Yes, that's right. Not happy about that.
Obama.
So, look, that's not even the dumbest part, though. No, the dumb part is that, look, he's going out there and he's talking about, crowd size greatest, when it's clearly not. And there were people that were like, oh, yes, sir. Biggest crowd size ever. Yes. 100%, sir. These are people like Sean Spicer. Look, Donald Trump had the entire Republican Party kissing his ass in 2016 after the debates, including people like Christie, who became one of the first, by the way, prominent Republican candidates, or I should say former candidate, to endorse him. And look, he was in that Trump circle for some time. In 2020, he came down with COVID after helping Trump prepare for his debates. So there's a pretty close association there. And look, Chris Christie did nothing but bow down to Donald Trump during his presidency. In fact, I don't know if you remember this, but it's absolutely hilarious.
Happening, and everybody is the Republican Party has become more dynamic. It's become more diverse. We're taking from the Democrats. We're taking from the independents. We have a lot more people. Look at some of the airports they have. You look at the roadways they have. You look at the transportation systems they have and the trains they have. We're like a third world.
Oh, I love that. The hostage video. That's just a fantastic video. But look, suddenly now that the Republican establishment has fully turned on Trump and is pushing Ron DeSantis, Christie decides, that's spine? Oh, I'm just going to take it out of the closet here. I'm going to dust it off, and I'm going to actually use it. Look, we know who these people are, okay? They're nothing more than unprincipled politicians. That's all they are. The only thing they're concerned with is power. And, of course, sucking up to power. That's what they do. Now, look, Chris Christie plays a tough guy, but in reality, he's the same kind of slimy, greasy politician that people despise and have always despised. And I will guarantee you that if Donald Trump ends up winning the nomination this time, which look, might be a little bit more difficult this time, but I think he's got an excellent shot still, Chris Christie and the rest of the Republican Party, who despise him, will go back to kissing the ring or anything else on Donald Trump, because that's just who they are. And maybe this time they'll actually be genuinely afraid of him for the fact that he really does love punishing people, and he would no doubt use his power in office in order to go after his political enemies. So yeah, in reality, they actually might have something to fear. So they are going to get ready to, pucker up. If that happens. We'll see. Okay. Fun times. Let's move on. It's actually the last story of the day that I have for you. Hopefully I got the video right. We'll see. Well, we'll see whether or not, there is...
There's insanity in the control room.
We'll see. We'll see. It's a Monday, so expect anything. Expect anything. Expect everything. Even the unexpected. Okay. Anyway. That was bizarre. Last month, a woman in Pennsylvania went viral for going on a racist tirade against employees at a pizza shop. So I'm going to show you the video here, and then we're going to get to a good resolution.
You want to have Spanish on your TV?
What's wrong with that?
What's wrong with that? Because you're not American, dude. I will look you the up and get you the out of our town. Okay? You. Give me my money back. I'm not giving my money to some illegal immigrant. Give me a credit. I don't want your food. I want a credit for my money right now.
I'm not making you be
And believe me, I will check it. Okay? I'm a certified CPAC, certified public accountant. You probably even know what that means, do you? And she's videotaping me. Yeah,
because you're racist. You're racist.
No,
yes,
no,
you are.
You're a victim.
You're racist.
You're a victim.
I'm not a victim.
You're a
no,
victim.
I'm not.
No, I'm an American.
No, you're a racist.
You're
You're
a victim.
racist.
You're a victim.
You're a
You're
racist.
the racist.
You're the racist. Really? Weird. She then went on to complain that the reason that they were filming her is not because she was having a racist meltdown in the middle of a pizza shop, because they were playing Spanish on a TV, a Spanish television station. No. She says, oh, you're just filming me because I was white. What? Now, again, this happened a month ago. in February, late February, she then went on, and was identified. Let's say that. She's been identified as 55-year-old Rita Bellew. And, hey, look at that. She's actually facing some consequences for her actions. Whoa. And what's even better than her facing consequences is the outpouring of support for the pizza parlor. So now for her, she's been charged with ethnic intimidation and harassment. Great. That's not, again, the best part of the story here. What's great is a reaction that Amy's Pizzeria, which is where this had happened, received from the community. Amy's owner, Omar Quinones, tells Delco Today that his business has been flooded with support from both local residents and people living abroad in other countries. Wonderful. Quinones explained to Delco Today, quote, a lot of people, they drive an hour, 2 hours just to come over here and buy a slice of pizza or say hi. Well, look, if I was driving 2 hours, I'd probably get more than a slice of pizza, but hey, still wonderful that people are coming in and showing real support. And in fact, Quinones says, that's a really good thing. To which I have to add, yes! I love it. I love it. So now look, overall, the political point here, you know when the right wing says, the left thinks America's a racist country, that everybody's racist, that we're all racist here, and the racism is racist wokers. Well, they're wrong. Now, are we a country that has racists in it? Oh, yeah, absolutely. We have a political party right now, a major political party that amplifies those people who are actually a very small minority of the population. They amplify, well, racism to a pretty big degree. But most Americans understand that they actually despise people like Rita, who come in and say, oh, well, you can't speak that here. Well, I'm an American. We're in America. We speak American. There's no such thing as American, as a language. I guess if you could go to dialect, but I don't even know if that's what it's called. American English, I guess, is what we use. But still, the reason that these people get viral, racist Rita in this case, and why communities often rally to support the victims is because this is outrageous behavior. That you have these, horrible people coming in and saying horrible things for no reason. Now, funny enough, again, there are right-wingers that will sometimes come out and defend immigrants in their own communities from being deported. In 2020, maybe this has changed, by the way, 68% of Republicans, even 64% of Trump-supporting Republicans, they said, well, of course we don't want the people known as the Dreamers to be deported. Again, these are children who are brought here to this country through no actions of their own, no fault of their own, and they grow up in the United States, but they're not actual legal citizens. They pay taxes, they get nothing in return. And of course, I remember stories during the Trump administration where people who are Trump voters were angry when someone in their community who happens to be an immigrant gets deported thanks to Trump's policies. And they go, whoa, whoa, whoa. Whoa, you can't deport him or her. Why'd you deport this family? They're good people. They're good people. Well, so now here's where they have a disconnect, because the disconnect is obvious. I think that there are people out there that believe that there are two different types of immigrants. They're the good ones and the bad ones. All they hear is, of course, about the bad ones is, that they're coming across the border. They're bringing the drugs. They're bringing the crime. Taking your job. They're taking your jobs. The MS-13s. Oh, yeah, that's who they are. But then they also know people in their personal lives. And they say, wow, these people, they're not like that. No. They're the good ones. They're the good ones. So they have this disconnect in their head where they, at the same time, are taking all this hateful, racist rhetoric from outlets like Fox News, and they're internalizing it. And they're like, oh, yeah. Yeah, they're the MS-13. They're going to come take our jobs. and live fat off our welfare money. Wait a minute. And they're also being busted by George Soros to win elections for Democrats and replace us, obviously. But Juan, he's a great guy. He's my neighbor. I love this guy. We have beers. Notice those things don't make sense, but there's that cognitive dissonance that happens all the time. And this might be, I don't know if this is a good example of that. This lady, because I don't know anything else about her, but getting to the point of, how a lot of Republicans are actually like, no, I think immigration's fine. Whatever. But they're hyped up about things that aren't actually, a reality. Like, oh, here comes the immigrant caravans. They're coming. And it just happened to always, show up right near an election. Isn't that strange? And then disappear right afterwards. Huh? Very, very odd. Very odd. Again, there are a lot of people in this country that do not know that they're being manipulated by right-wing media. Again, the people that are constantly being fear-mongered about, which, again, I'm talking about the criminal elements here, the MS-13s, are actually a tiny, tiny fraction of people that come across the border. Yes, there are drug smugglers, there are human traffickers, and you know what? The Biden administration has actually touted seizing tons of fentanyl at the border from these traffickers. Which then, people like Marjorie Greene will come out and be like, oh, can you believe that? Oh, that drug's getting over the border. Wait a minute. If they were seized at the border, that means they didn't come over the border, which means the Biden administration literally stopped the drugs from coming into the country. Shouldn't you be like, oh, no, this is great. Thank you, Biden administration, for stopping all this fentanyl from getting into the country. But no, they don't see it like that. Again, going back to the point, the vast majority of migrants, immigrants, and asylum seekers, they are not criminals. They're not bad people. They're just people that want a better life. That's it. So you have racists like Rita there. They don't get it. They don't care. And ultimately, all they want to do is just show hatred. Ironically, her actions make her less of an American. Because at our core, we're a nation of immigrants who, out of many, became one nation. And nothing is more indicative of that fact, that reality, than the support and love the restaurant and these workers happen to receive after this incident. A little bit of hopium. Look at that. Ending a show with some, talking about horrible people with a little bit of hopium. And that's what I wanted to do today. Bring you a little bit of hope. Okay. Yeah, that's all I've got for you for the show today. I'm going to read off some super chats and get this off the screen first. Do that. All right. Go to YouTube. Gabby Mathis, thank you for gifting a Waldorf Nation membership. Appreciate that. If you want to become a member, you can join button below if you're on YouTube. Changing DJ, a member for 7 months, says they're worse than ghouls. Now, talking about people like Michael Knowles and the people speaking at CPAC that are relentlessly going after our transgenders, brothers, sisters, and everything in between. And Gabby Mathis, thank you for gifting another Waldorf Nation membership. And Jonathan Leiter, thank you for gifting as well a Waldorf Nation membership. Appreciate that. Okay. So let's go over here to our Twitch community, see what's going on. Hunger Games 1989, thank you for resubbing with Prime for 14 months. It says 14 months. And let me cue this up. We have to keep our country gay. Yes, we have to. And transgender. Love it. All right. With that, let's see. Everybody, please like and share the stream if you haven't already. Appreciate it. If you do, check out the clips, that we're going to put up later today. If you've missed any part of the show, subscribe, Waldorf Nation on YouTube, or of course, Jeff Waldorf Show on Facebook, and our Twitch community as well, Jeff_Waldorf. Again, with that, I'm going to take my leave of you all. I'm going to raid in to, let's see, done a left flank vets in a while. Looks like they're covering the Ohio train derailment. The latest one, perhaps, disastrous. With that, have a great night, and we'll see you back here tomorrow. And remember, change begins with you. Good night.